babyface.
Well, Swagoo, here, let's get to the Cowboys, which is, of course, your wheelhouse here. As more news in the NFC East specific to a coordinator, Matt Eberflus, one and done. He was fired by the Cowboys earlier today, with Jerry Jones saying, quote, after reviewing and discussing the results of our defensive performance this season, it was clear that change is needed. This is the first step in that process, and we will continue that review as it applies to reaching our much higher expectations. All right, so he was the third defensive coordinator, was Eberflus, in the last 3 seasons for the Cowboys, and it's easy to see why they wanted yet another change. How about this for Cowboys ranks? Points per game, last. Pass yards per game allowed, last. Third down defense, last. Efficiency in EPA, also last. So this was a terrible defense no matter what way you slice it. But Swagoo, I do think it is at least worth positing this question. Was the Cowboys defense last year more of a Matt Eberflus issue or a Cowboys defensive personnel issue?
Personnel issue. Look, Phil, ain't no good coach ever existed without good players. I tell people this all the time. Like, it's no coincidence that Seattle and the Houston Texans are playing the way they play. They got dudes all over the field. And listen, you're not going to be able to build your defenses like that. I use the two most polarizing defenses in the league. But you at least got to be able to look at a roster and say, okay, this guy is a game changer. Quentin Williams, I believe, is a game changer. I believe he can be more of the stout guy in the middle. But we know you need more. That's why we had the visceral reaction when Michael Parsons was let go from this team. It wasn't necessarily about the relationship, and I get the business part of it and all of that. But who on that defense would you line up and say, hey, man, we got to make sure we take care of this guy? No one.
Nobody. Yeah.
That was the case. So, again, Matt Eberflus is I think he's a solid defense coordinator. I don't think he's a world beater. Schematically, there are absolutely some things that they could have done differently. I would have been more of a pressure team when you don't have the personnel and just live and die by trying to put people in a bad way. So all of those things are to be discussed. But more importantly, the personnel was not good at all. So that's that.
This is how I think about the Cowboys defense. Marcus and I are both on remote right now, and we look great from top up. I love your jacket. I can guarantee you we're both wearing sweatpants.
Shorts on.
Right? You can't see it, but we got sweatpants on. That's the Cowboys defense. Up front, you got some guys. You got Quentin Williams. You got Kenny Clark. I think Donovan Ezeraku shows some stuff. The pass rush is legit. Yep. The problem is everything behind that pass rush, because there are so many issues in that back end. The linebacker group, you need corners. It was a talent coaching one, and that's not to say Eberflus should have kept his job. The results are what they are. We saw a lot of coverage busts, some issues obviously that do stem from the scheme, but for the most part, this is a talent problem, and this is a defense that desperately needs more talent at the second and third level, and frankly doesn't have much cap space to do so this offseason.
Does that make me, since I live here in Connecticut and in studio, am I like the Texans defense then?
Yeah, I'm combined.
You're fully dressed.
I'm the Texans defense.
You're a babyface.
This is the best day of the year for me.
Huge.
I'm going to ask a question to you two, okay? And Marcus, you answer it first. So, like Raheem Morris, Jonathan Gannon, Jim Schwartz. Those are the names that immediately come to my mind. The Cowboys have two really good defensive tackles, right? And then speedy linebackers. Marcus, which out of those three guys do you think at least best fits at least that starting point with scheme? And then, Mina, you after him.
Raheem Morris. I think a lot of it, too, is just his experience in the secondary, Dan. Mina just pointed out how bad those guys are back there. I remember Raheem. Raheem was actually a coach at the Senior Bowl when he was with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when I was there. So he's been around Money Kiffin. He's been around, and obviously Money was famous for the Tampa too, but coverage is a big thing for Raheem. And if you notice, every place that he's been, defense coordinator-wise or head coach, he's always had a stalwart corner. That's just what he believes in. He's going to go find a guy that can handle one side of the field. So that would be the first thing that comes to my mind with the glaring issues that Dallas has. And then, too, from a scheme standpoint, because we know he was heavily involved. Don't forget James Pierce, who they drafted out of Tennessee, had 10.5 sacks as a rookie. So there's development going on as well. There's the ability to coach guys up. So I would like Raheem, even though I love all three of those names.
Yeah, and I did like what I saw from Ezeraku, by the way, year one. I think he has some promise, too. I'd be interested in Gannon. I echo Marcus's thoughts on Raheem Morris, but I think Arizona is a defense that, during Gannon's tenure, did a lot with a little at times. They were very creative, very unique in terms of how they approached their pressures and their coverages. Whereas Jim Schwartz, amazing, but that defense just asked your guys to play straight up and win, and that's not who Dallas is right now. Like, you do not want these corners as it is playing that much man coverage. So I think you need to inject some creativity on that side of the ball.
We'll be on to the next soon as it pertains to the Cowboys, but for 2025, we will remember this stat. They allowed 30.1 points per game. That's their most in a season since 1960. They went 0-11 and
He left Washington. Now we'll see why. If that comes out, is he going to become a head coach? Obviously, that would be a different conversation. But if he's leaving just to leave.
Cowboys Nation. This might be the most important name we've heard all offseason after one of the most embarrassing defensive seasons in franchise history. After firing Matt Eberflus just 1 year into the job. After watching opposing quarterbacks turn into MVPs against us every single week. A new report says Jerry Jones already has a top name circled, and that name? Brian Flores. Yes, that Brian Flores. Former NFL head coach, defensive mind, intense, controversial, and maybe, just maybe, exactly what this defense needs. Stay with me, because we're breaking down why this could be a massive move, and why it might never happen. But first, hit that like button, subscribe to Dallas Cowboys today, and help us reach 14,000 subscribers. If you care about this team and want real analysis, you're in the right place. Let's not sugarcoat it. Matt Eberflus didn't just fail, he presided over the worst defense in Cowboys history. 501 points allowed in 2025, most ever in franchise history. 31 points per game. Only team in the NFL over 30, last in passing yards allowed per game. Zero identity, zero accountability. This wasn't a learning year. This was a full-blown collapse. So when Jerry Jones pulled the plug after one season, nobody was surprised. The surprise is how fast Dallas is moving now. According to Diana Rossini of The Athletic, one name is already at the top of the Cowboys' wish list. Brian Flores, not a rumor, not a fan wish, an insider report. Flores is currently the defensive coordinator in Minnesota and widely respected across the league, and at just 44 years old, he already brings something Dallas desperately lacks. Head coaching experience, let's talk football. Wherever Brian Flores goes, defenses get more aggressive, more disciplined, more unpredictable. In Minnesota, his unit thrives on disguised coverages, relentless pressure, confusion at the line of scrimmage. That's the exact opposite of what we saw in Dallas. Cowboys quarterbacks face pressure? Rarely. Opposing quarterbacks? Comfortable. Clean pockets. Career days. Flores doesn't allow that. Now, let's be real. Well, this isn't a slam dunk. There are real obstacles. 1. Flores wants to be a head coach again. 2. Minnesota wants to keep him. 3. He's out of contract, which means a bidding war. 4. He's intense, combative, and not everybody's cup of tea. And here's the big question. Does Brian Flores fit in Dallas? This is a locker room that's had comfort. This is a front office that values control. This is an owner who likes harmony. Flores brings none of that. He brings accountability, and Cowboys Nation, that's why I'm in. This defense doesn't need another nice coordinator. It doesn't need another yes man. It doesn't need another experiment. It needs someone who will challenge players, demand execution, create a culture of fear for opponents. If Brian Flores walks into that building, things change. Day one, and let's be honest, it literally cannot get worse than 2025. If Jerry Jones hires Brian Flores, that's not just a football move, that's a PR home run. It tells the league Dallas is serious. Dallas is changing. Dallas wants credibility again. After years of half measures, this would be a statement. Now I want to hear from you, Cowboys Nation. Do you want Brian Flores as defensive coordinator? Is his intensity exactly what this team needs? Or too risky? Would you be excited or nervous if Jerry pulls the trigger? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. If you want Dallas to finally fix this defense, if you're tired of embarrassment on Sundays, if you believe this team needs real change, hit that like button, subscribe to Dallas Cowboys today, and help us reach 14,000 subscribers. This hire will define the Cowboys' future. I'm Victor, this is Dallas Cowboys Today, and no matter what, how about them Cowboys?